Hi, everybody. It is Craig and Robert back with your Docs Daily, Thursday edition, the 22nd of January. I don't know why. I almost said November. I want to go back. I want to go back. I don't know if I want to go back to football. I'm going to be honest. My worst football season I've ever had. Found this last weekend, I was great. I was 2-1, even though I lost my 7 unit. I hit a 6 and a 5. So I'm like, dude, I don't know what to do with myself. I actually had a winning weekend, even with the top play loser. But we'll get into those lines here. I'd say we'll save those lines for tomorrow because Robert and I will be on tomorrow. But I just was talking to Robert off air. It's like, dude, I don't know what's wrong with college basketball. It's like they just save every game and put them all on Saturday. It's like, why don't you spread these things out a little bit? Usually that's what, the ESPNs and the Fox Sports and, these people that are paying all this money want is to have good games every night so that they don't just pay for, Saturday's action. But we'll talk a little college hoops. I do find there's one game I kind of tickled my fancy a little bit. So I want to get your opinion on that. But before you do so, don't forget, if you want to get in on our special, free $60. I wish I was on yesterday. I could have pumped Robert. Robert hit an 8-unit game of the year last night. And somebody texted me, Robert, one of my guys that's been with me a long time, texted me, not only, I guess, did you hit the 8-unit, they said you had 14 units of profit last night. I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't look into it myself. But
yes, I went 7-0 yesterday. I won my 8-unit, and then I had 6 1-unit plays that I didn't want to trump my 8-unit play. I wanted that to determine whether we won or lost. But yes, I went 7-0 for plus 1,400 yesterday.
There you go. So now this would have worked on that too, because the $30, it's $30 for single play. It doesn't matter if it's 8 units or it's 2 units. You get a day of pass in college hoops. So when I always say this, when handicappers start to see the board, as they say, that's a good time to jump on board. So jump on Robert's day pass. I don't have I have small play when I'm actually going to give it out to you guys here. 2-unit today, but I do have a 7-unit play in the NBA today. I kind of, usually have one a week, 6 or 7. I think 6 days ago I had a 6-unit. I like this one tonight. So make sure you get on that and use the free 60. If you're not an existing user, you can just go and use your credit card. That's how it's done. Okay, Robert, let's start with college basketball, kind of get it out of the way a little bit, and then I want to move to NBA. I think NBA is pretty good, pretty nice little card tonight, and even NHL a little bit. College hoops, my play tonight is, and like I said, small, College of Charleston over Campbell. And they did not play good the last 2 games, College of Charleston. That's just facts. It was on the road. They just didn't play well. I think Chris Mack's a pretty good coach. I think he kind of got the raw deal. I mean, at Louisville, it was, I think, during COVID and all that. And it's just like the expectations were because he went to the Elite 8 at their Sweet 16 at Xavier. All of a sudden, he's going to come to Louisville and just going to boom. And then but I think he's a pretty good coach. And I think tonight's a big step up spot for him. So I don't know if you have any opinion on that game. It almost was, the line was a little too low. That's why I kind of kept it 2 units prime instead of like a 4.
Yeah, I mean, they're off back-to-back losses on the road. So now they're back home. So they're in a bounce back spot. I can get behind that. Campbell's going through weird transition. They do what a lot of colleges do, where they fire their coach and then they go the exact opposite way. So they were a team that used to run the Princeton offense. Now they're playing at one of the fastest paces in that league. So it's still going to be really, really up and down. It's a small number with Charleston at home, and they always have a nice home court advantage. So yeah, I can definitely see it.
They're not as good as they were the last 3 years. Last year, I thought they were a little better.
Yeah.
And they were really good when, of course, Pat Kelsey was there. What he did there was pretty unbelievable with all those transfers. And that was kind of at the start of the NIL and transfer portal, where he was getting those kids from Division II schools to transfer in and becoming this kid not far from here. West Liberty. He had 2 really good kids. West Lib's about an hour and a half, 2 hours from me here. Very good program. And he kind of hit lightning in a bottle, where he's just like every good kid from West Lib would just transfer in there and becoming really good. Now, it's like you go that it's hard to stay at that peak. Like Winthrop kind of had that. It's like it's always these small schools. Belmont for a little while had that. But it's hard to do that year in, year out. So this is a little down year. Not saying they still can't make the tournament, because all you got to do in these tournaments is win the tournament,
win the league,
win the tournament. Doesn't matter to win the league anymore. Which I still think, I don't know how you do it unless you expand. I would love to see conference champions and get in, especially the small conferences, it's like because you have one bad day in the tournament, you're out. Like you're out.
That's what March is about, though. I love the pressure cooker of it all. Like it's nice that you win a regular season championship. You get to raise that banner, and in a league like the CAA, that means something, right? But when it comes to March and that single bid,
no one cares about it. Let you go to March. Let you go to the tournament.
But again, that adds all the pressure to it. And that
now they do. I think now they are giving the automatic bids to NIT for these cups. So if you're a conference winner, you automatically go to NIT. So you're still playing at a postseason, and I think those teams actually get to host games. I think is how they do it in the first round, so that they also kind of get the double. Not only get an NIT, but you get a home game. If your gym can hold it, sometimes it can't because they're not playing it.
Right.
But I have one other question. There's one game in the Big Ten tonight, Wisconsin, Penn State. We saw Penn State almost beat Michigan. That was kind of when that Michigan was kind of messing with fire there for a little while. They were killing teams, and all of a sudden, now they face a Wisconsin team that they've been hot. 5 of the last 6 or something like that? So they've been really good.
Yeah.
But, it's like, okay, really, who have they beat? Like, you know what I mean? Like
Michigan.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's like a lot of those other games were like, they had to hold on. They were up in Minnesota. That was a miracle. They almost let that one get away. So is this a big letdown spot? I'm pretty sure they have 2 big games here the next couple. Is this a spot where maybe you should be playing the underdog here?
Yeah, I like the underdog, but I don't make a habit of betting against Wisconsin. They're like the Big Ten's version of Duke in that they get all the calls. They get all the calls every game. Every game they outshoot they shoot 12 more free throws or 18 more free throws than their opponent, and that even holds up on the road. But the reason that you should kind of be leaning on Penn State is they've been really feisty at home. They've done this the last couple of years, but they almost beat Michigan. They almost beat Michigan State. They only lost by 4 to Michigan State at home. They played Illinois in that kind of semi-home,
right, or 10 or something.
Yeah. But they only lost that game by 8. So those are 3 of the best teams in the conference outside of Nebraska. And they played tough with all of them. So they 100% can play with Wisconsin. It wasn't enough points for me to take them at home. I think I would have liked 6.5, 7. And it wasn't small enough for me to play Wisconsin. I don't think I would have played Wisconsin on the road there anyway. But yeah, I mean, the dog is the right side. What's
the number, Robert? You said 6.5. That would kind of like start to entice you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
To me, I'm always when I see 5.5, I'm instantly like at home underdog. I'm like that's the that like I circle them and I'm like, okay, which 5.5? Because almost every day a 5.5 wins outright. It's like it's just I don't know why it just.
Yeah, it used to be 8.5 back 15 years ago or so. 8.5. That was an underdog number. Like if I saw that, that's where I was leading. Penn State, another thing they have going for them is they've lost 5 in a row. And that's usually when public bettors are just like sell. Like one of the picks I hit last night was I hit Northwestern plus 6.5 against USC. Just kind of due at some point. And it's not a great way to bet like, oh, this team is due, but it kind of is. Like these teams that lose X number of games in a row, nobody wants to bet on those teams. Nobody wants to bet on a team on a losing streak. But, unfortunately, you got to get your hands dirty in betting, and that's where the value can be. They lost by 23 points at Maryland their last time out, which was, again, they're playing close with all these good teams like Michigan and Michigan State, stuff like that. Then they get bombed by a bad Maryland team, so they should be in bounce-back form, man. Should be a pretty good game.
They're one of those teams that just look at what their results are. The better the team, the more they get up. And it's like, so you would think they just don't get up for teams that are at their level or maybe even in the medium level. I would think I still don't know what Wisconsin is to be very honest.
Yeah,
I mean, I
agree with you.
I'd heard whispers early, like people are like, man, this might be a Final Four team. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. They were just, and then it was even like before that BYU game, and then BYU was in Vegas, blitzed them. And I was like, oh, I don't think this team will be lucky to get past the first day of the tournament. Now, since then, I will give them credit. They beat who they should. The big win against Michigan, obviously, it maybe people were right. This team is better than what they played early in the year, and they have played that yesterday. I just think this is a really, really tough road spot. All right, let's talk NBA a little bit because I think there's a much better card in the NBA today. It's a time of the year where it's danger time because once you're within a couple weeks, once the All-Star rosters start coming out, it's like people are like, that's the break, So it's like obviously there's only one in every 20 players are in the NBA All-Star game. So a lot of them are planning trips and okay, I'm banged up. Can I make it through? I'm not saying you're pacing yourself, but let's be honest, that's human nature.
Yes.
It's just part of especially if you're on a bad team, you're like, dude, I need a break. So be careful at this time of year. I always think the NBA is low and slow, but especially this time of year, this leading up to the All-Star game. The big question for me is in this game, I want to get your opinion. Golden State at Dallas. Golden State, obviously no Jimmy Butler. Looked like they were going to try to flip Kuminga for some assets to kind of fill in some spots. Well, of course, I don't think you can do that now because Kuminga basically has to play the Jimmy Butler role. I don't think you can trade Kuminga and get someone better that fills that spot. So, but in the short term, can the Warriors stay hot here at 6 points here?
No, is what I'm gonna say. I'm a little surprised that they're this strong of a favorite in this game, frankly, especially because we talk about this a lot when a star player goes down. Usually in the short term, we see teams kind of rally a little bit. They did not rally against Toronto. They did the opposite of whatever the opposite of rallying is. That's what they did in that game. So I think that they're a little bit stunned right now. And I still think that they do need to get rid of Kuminga. He just doesn't work on that team. He's a good player, and you can say, well, can you get a guy that is better than him from a talent standpoint?
Or even
I don't think you need to. I think if you can get two guys that can just play that role at a competent level, the chemistry will be better than it is. There's just no chemistry with Kuminga and Steve Kerr and those guys on there. It's just not a good fit. So like we talked about with Atlanta making the trade when they got rid of Trae Young, did they get back anyone that was better than Trae Young? No. But they're better. They're a better team for it because of that. So if you're Golden State,
they also got out from under his contract. That was a big thing in that spot. Kuminga's contract isn't bad, and the Kings are the team that won him, and they want to give the Warriors DeRozan. The Warriors are just obviously they're not they're a 3-point shooting team. They're not a big believer in mid-range shots. So it's like I understand why they don't want him. To me, I would like Murray. The Keegan Murray makes a lot more. I think that's him, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. I don't know that they would part for him. And
yeah, I don't think they want to. That's the problem.
Yeah, and again, like whoever you get for that role has got to be younger and athletic. That's why I don't mind DeRozan's game fitting in with them offensively. Maybe it creates some spacing issues, but my bigger problem with him is that he's older and he's not as good defensively. Like anybody that they move to get that spot has to be able to defend on a Jimmy Butler level. And even at this age, he was their best defensive player, probably even better than Draymond at this point in his career. So now
they definitely play. They fit so well together, which I wasn't sure before when they got him. But Jimmy Butler and Draymond actually fit really well. They could just switch everything. He's such a beast, like strength-wise, kind of like Draymond, where he plays way bigger than his size. There's just not a lot of players out there like that. I did hear the Suns would like him, but it's like, who would the Suns be willing to? Because the Warriors at a point where they're not trading for the future. They're trading for right now because they're trying to give Steph Curry one more chance, this team one more chance. Okay, who would they part with? I don't know. Those were the teams that wanted him in the offseason as far as trades.
And why would the Suns help out the Warriors when they have to face each other too? So first, hey, want to say to Rochelle 7771 and living the dream, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I definitely am one of those guys that I'd like to say I handicap for my clients, not myself. Like, it's not about my pride and my glory and my record. I'm not a big, anybody that comes on here and watches me knows I'm not a big, look at me guy. Craig, you know how this goes. I hate to lose more than I love to win. I won my 8-unit play. I wasn't going to bring it up today because I'm not having the season that I wanted in college basketball.
That's what I'm here for.
Right. That's my job. This is my job. I'm supposed to do that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, so, here's the key though. Robert, tell him it. Like we can't. Unfortunately, we wish everybody was on Robert's play last night. Like we can't. Obviously, after the fact, you can't be. So it's only what we do in the future. Robert had an unbelievable last night. The positive about everything in sports betting, I always say, and the negative, by the way, it could be both. Is that you're only as good as your next winner, as your next play. Robert, hopefully that is the key. You get that one. It's like you light the lamp a little bit, and all of a sudden that fuse, all of a sudden Robert.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like I kind of figured it out over the weekend. I had a couple good days over the weekend. So when I saw that pick on it was North Carolina and Notre Dame. I watched the Notre Dame Virginia Tech game on Saturday, and Micah Shrewsbury, he's not going to make it to the end of the year. He's going to get fired, or he's going to be one of those guys that like they lose in the ACC tournament and he gets fired that day. Like they can't get rid of him. They can't get rid of him soon enough. But I had a couple good days. I feel like I have figured it out in college basketball. And so when I saw that play on Tuesday night, I was like, you know what? I'm going to trust my gut and go with this. I like Saturday's card. I just feel like these next few weeks are going to be really good weeks in college. Like you said at the beginning, I'm seeing the board and I'm seeing it really well. So I got off to a terrible start, which is usually the opposite. Usually I get up big in non-conference and then slowly bleed it out during conference play and then finish strong. Maybe we do the opposite. August Young, too, not for nothing, but August Young got off to an awful start to this college basketball season. He's up like plus 7,200 over the last month. Like he's on fire. He's up like 4,800 over the last 2 weeks, something like that. So, he's kind of following the same track. So to your point, it doesn't matter what you did in November. Like I didn't have the November I wanted or the early December I want. I'm doing well now. August Young is doing well now. And the ship is kind of pointed in the right direction.
Which to be honest, if you have your druthers on it's just like Nebraska. Great that you're good early. You'd much rather be good late when obviously there's more focus and I always would rather. So maybe it's a positive, Robert, that you had a slow start that you're going to finish stronger because
Miami of Ohio is going to be kicking themselves when they get bounced when they don't win the MAC tournament when they lose in the second round of the MAC tournament.
Great story. For people that don't know, Travis, what's his last name? The coach?
Steele.
Yeah, he was at Xavier. I believe he took over after Chris Mack. So he was I was out to Vegas a lot. And so we ended up, I would fly through Detroit and home. And he would end up on those, where he's recruiting. And he would always be like in first class with sitting next to me. So I actually talked to this guy when he was assistant coach at Xavier. He seemed like a super nice guy. It just felt like at Xavier, they didn't have the patience. Remember that Xavier team, I think, lost in the finals in NIT that year that they fired him. So it was like the team wasn't terrible. It's just they lost the patience there. But he's recovered himself, and Miami is just like
they just
wins are crazy.
He got kind of a raw deal. It was just they had a chance at Sean Miller, who is a top 10 coach. Because he flamed out with Arizona. We don't have to rehash it there. But that's why they caught Steele loose, because they saw an opportunity to upgrade with Miller. Travis Steele never had a losing season at Xavier. It
was just not what they were doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like when you come down from the Elite Eight, it's like, dude, everybody's going to be disappointed. It's like, dude, Xavier is like, you're going to get one of those in a 25-year period. Like even now that you're upgraded into the Big East, just part of it. They don't have the funds. And it's not like NIL is going to be a big part there. Xavier is a very small Catholic school. It's much bigger than when I was in Cincinnati and living there. But it's still I think 6,000 or something, like Cincinnati across the road is 40,000, it's like, dude. So, you have the chance to get NIL money from a lot bigger crowd. Why Indiana now should be really good going forward in football.
Listen, I got to tell you, I'm looking at Miami of Ohio's schedule. That
last game was the one. That last game, I was like, that was the one they were going to lose because
back-to-back overtime games. Now you're playing Massachusetts, who's not very good, but Frank Martin is a good head coach. Remember him from Kansas State. Remember him from South Carolina and stuff like that.
He was assistant at UC, high school coach from Miami, and Huggins found him.
They've won 3 out of 4. I think they put up a little bit of a fight there, but other than that, looking ahead, they don't play any of the top teams in the MAC. Like there's no Akron. They already beat Akron. They got them at home. They don't have a return game. They get Bowling Green, who they beat on the road. they get them at home. I think maybe at Marshall Saturday, February 7th, just because that's a tricky place to play. It's not a familiar place. Like they haven't been in the MAC very long. That comes after they play Buffalo. Buffalo, the team that they just beat they beat Buffalo in overtime on a last second shot. They beat Kent State in overtime. So they're kind of riding that rail, right? Like, they're going to fall off, but I think that they can win their next two or three games. I think maybe they lose at Marshall.
It would be
they don't lose at Marshall though.
They could run the table.
They really could. They really honestly could.
Now the MAC is the margin of victory in the MAC, like from really good teams to the bad. Yes, it can be great, but dude, it's not like they're superior athletes. It's not like, oh, we're just going to bring the boozer guy out, and just 20 rebounds, 20 points in the paint, and you can't stop them. They don't have that. They live a lot by shooting threes, and that's a little worrisome because they do play good defense. They pass the ball well. Like you said, I would not want to thank Frank Martin anytime. That dude is like, you imagine if you haven't YouTube Frank Martin about coaching his kid, and his son came to him and said something, I'm paraphrasing here, that I'm not doing what, or I'm not getting to play or something. He's like, well, why are you talking to me? Did you talk to coach? No. Why are you talking to me? Just because I'm a coach, I ain't gonna tell my coach. And it's just like, that's what every parent should be. Of course, it's the opposite. So actually a coach saying that really does know more than his high school or his kid's grade school coach, and saying, hey, go talk to the coach. It's a great thing. And Frank Martin, like I got to know him when I was at UC. He was there under that last Huggins when Andy Kennedy then took over. And then he went to Kansas State with Huggins. And then when Huggins left to go to West Virginia, he took the Kansas State job. Great guy. And he got a raw job at South Carolina. He took them to the Final Four. And then they were like, 2 and 3 years later, we're like, see ya.
And well, what's funny about it too is that since he's left, South Carolina is pretty much still the same program and the same team. They're defensive oriented. They play hard. They keep a lot of games close that you don't expect them to keep close, but they're still not very good. To get back to the NBA, the game I want to watch and want to see is Houston, Philadelphia. I think that's going to be a good game. But what are your thoughts on the Lakers Clippers? A little surprised to see the Clippers favored in that game.
I mean, you can't have any confidence playing the Lakers. I mean, they are this is last year's team all over again. It's like I don't feel like they want to play. Like at some points you watch the game and it's like, is this an all-star game? Is this like there's the effort is pitiful. And I don't know how you blame the other players because LeBron and Luka lead the team and they kind of play like that. That is like, I don't need to play defense. I don't need to go after that rebound. It's just, I don't know. It feels like LeBron's like, all right, you wanted Luka to be the great player. Now you go get him to be it.
I mean, they're 26-16. Like
they started great. It's just been the last month that it's like and do you think this is going to get better or worse as the season goes on? That's what I'm like. I don't know it's going to get better unless, and then they went and got another guy that's kind of just like that. DeAndre Ayton is like the great, like number one pick.
It
just it doesn't show a lot of emotion. It's just never lived up to potential. And it's like, let's go get him. It was kind of
they got him for nothing.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing that they did, because if they didn't, then it would just be a goddamn layup line, for their opponents every
Jackson Hayes has been great for him. The problem is when Jackson Hayes was having to play that super extended minutes, it's like then there was nobody. Literally when he'd go out, they would be playing 6'9", 6'10" guys. Right. It's like, dude, you got to be able to rim protect, especially when you have bad perimeter defense like you do with Luka and LeBron, where guys are going to be at the rim, and if you can't defend the rim, it becomes a problem. I don't know. What does the Lakers do? Like what move can they make unless LeBron says he would like to be traded? How can you improve that team? Because you're not trading.
You can't until LeBron's gone. But the thing that I'll say about this game is that, I won't bet on the Lakers as favorites very often. I did win with them the other night in Denver, but that was kind of fluky. Like Denver is kind of, wobbly right now, to say the least. And even Denver still had them on the ropes in that game. But them as an underdog here, I don't know I think that's given the Clippers a little bit too much credit. I like how the
Is
Clippers
Kawhi playing tonight? I know he's been iffy.
Who knows? Who knows?
That's why I'm always, when I see these numbers, I'm trying to predict, what does the number mean? Does it mean that I'm guessing at -1 or +1 that it's saying that Kawhi's playing? Or the perception.
Yeah, what would have to be. But what, before they lost the other night, what were they, like 12-3 in their last 15 games? Like the Clippers have been.
But he got sent home with the last 3 games of that road trip. He got sent home, or the last 2, I forget. But they actually, he got kind of redid his knee injury, and they were like, just go home and get better.
His pinky toe. He got a boo-boo. He got a boo-boo.
I'll tell you, the one guy that shocks the hell out of me, if you just said the rock on the Clippers the last 2 years was going to be James Harden. Like, this is the James Harden that, like, kind of mailed it in at many different teams. I mean, the guy's been awesome. I mean, the only guy that's dependable. Every night it's like 18 points, 9 assists. Like, he's actually staying in front of people a little bit. It's like, dude, I would have never saw this coming. So that's kept them in this. And I do like a lot, like Zubac. I love that dude. Like, that dude is so dependable. Like, there's a million teams out there that could use someone like that. I just don't know tonight. I have no feel for this game.
All right, what about that Houston Philadelphia game?
That's where my 7-unit play is tonight.
Oh, okay.
I like a side in that one a lot.
We'll stay away.
I think that game is a good indication, and I have an opinion on the conferences, if you know what I mean. Like, okay, kind of like, the top 4 or 5 teams in the East versus the top 4 or 5 teams in the West. And when they start to play each other, where does that and so that's kind of where my play is. And I will say this. In past years, we all knew it was all about the Western Conference. Mm-hmm. I still think the Western Conference is clearly better, 1 to whatever, 1 to 18 or whatever, 16 or whatever it is. I don't know if it's as great as it's been in the past.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, and I was saying that I kind of disagree with you. I don't think that there is really much of a disparity at all between the top of the West and the top of the East. I think the top of the West gets a lot more fanfare because bigger names, right? Like you do have the Lakers, and Kevin Durant is on Houston.
Oh, you got the champs,
man, with Minnesota, and you got the MVP in Denver, and Oklahoma City, who won the championship. They come out of there like, yeah, sure, but the top 5 or 6 teams of the East, and there's a lot of dregs in the West. There's still a lot of bad teams.
Although the Nets and the Wizards are in the East, so it's like,
absolutely fair.
There's a couple in each, but the East right now, I think after Detroit, I'm like, and I think Boston's been. I still can't believe Boston is what they are, to be very honest. Now, I think they're at their ceiling though. Like, if you know what I mean. Like, I think the Pistons don't even know how good they could be yet. They're still like figuring it out, and I think they're going to add pieces because they've got draft capital that they could turn into, a nice role player to even get better. But I don't think they know even how good they can be. I think a lot of other teams are basically playing at their peak, and like the Sixers tonight. I think the Cavaliers are still a huge question. I mean, this time last year, the Cavaliers were killing everybody, and now I know they're banged up a little bit. It's like, dude, they can't beat like bad teams. Last night, were they up against the Hornets by like 20, and all of a sudden you turn around and it's 5-6 points late. I'm like, dude, this last year would have been over at halftime. So it's like, I don't know. We'll see what the East is. I think the trade deadline, there's going to be some real dandies of trades because people think like if we can get one, like add a really key piece that we can boom, especially if you're like in the middle of the East or the West. So I can't wait.
All right. Scott asked about going back to college basketball thoughts.
This one's a tough game.
South Florida and UAB. Yeah, it's going to be a really good game. I actually like UAB. I like them at home in this game. I bet against South Florida with Wichita State on Sunday. They lost outright. They lost in overtime, a rare overtime win for me. But Wichita State was catching 9.5 in that game. UAB beat them on the road. For me with South Florida, I don't fully understand how they got off to the start that they did. So this is a team that I'm kind of looking to bet more against as we get into the meat of the conference schedule.
What was it? What did they beat Utah State when they were undefeated?
They beat Utah State. Yeah,
and Utah State's been murdering teams. Like
they played Alabama tough. They only lost to Alabama by 11. Like VCU, George Washington, they've played some good teams, but UAB is kind of in the same boat. And UAB, they just got embarrassed. They just lost by 22 points at home to Tulsa, which we've talked about Tulsa on this program. They won again big yesterday against Memphis. Like Eric Conkle is a real deal coach. That Tulsa team is a real deal team. They just embarrassed UAB. UAB has a really good home court advantage. Andy Kennedy, another good coach. He's going to have them in the bounce back mode. And as I mentioned, they already beat them on the road. So they match up well with South Florida. So I like the home team in that game, but not enough to play. I'm on a big underdog kick right now. So I'm looking at some big numbers.
I always say, be careful. I actually, like, because he's a Huggins disciple, who was there when I was working camps and stuff going way back. Great guy. Andy Kennedy is a great guy. Everybody wanted him to be the next guy instead of Mick Cronin. And then he went to Ole Miss, of course, instead. He had that 1 year as an interim coach since then. He's a great guy. Not the greatest defensive coach, though. So it's like, I always worry about playing his teams because I'm always like, I've watched it too much at Ole Miss. We've seen it at UAB. When they do play defense, dude, his teams are so talented on offense, and he does put them in some nice sets. He's not like Michigan. Like, first of all, May's stuff right now he's running is like, it's something special. It's if I always said if Calipari could figure out an offense like with the talent he's had, is like, dude, what could he have done? It's the
well, the funny thing is he did. Like, he had the dribble drive motion. He was the first guy to implement a lot of those concepts. I don't remember. I cannot remember who it was that he ripped that offense off of. Like, that did not come out of his.
That was always great, but it's like at the end of games, like I always said, you have to have sets at the end of games to get, okay, we went 5 possessions without scoring. I got to be able to run something, call something. That just wasn't his game. He liked that open flow and the motion offenses and the dribble drive. I like that. Those are good concepts. But to me, and sometimes you call a timeout and you're like, dude, I got to draw something up. And that's just never been his strong point.
Yeah.
So Drake or Dusty May is, I mean, when I watch his stuff, I'm like, dude, it's NBA type stuff. When you see it drawn up, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
You don't see that in college a whole lot. Like that's less of a thing in college. Now, granted, the kids are just so much better than me.
Richie, I will be back tomorrow. I'm always on Thursday and Friday for Doc's Daily. So we want to dedicate a good chunk of the show to some football. We are releasing our picks today at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So tomorrow's show, we will lead with the conference championship.
Maybe we can get Raphael to kind of send us where, he's the one that kind of has a lot of back and forth with sports books, the big ones, and kind of hear
where the money's going,
where's stuff coming in. That's always interesting to me. I'll already have my plays in, so it won't matter to me. I'm less of a guy that worries about the public and the underdog and the public like, to me, I just set where the line I think is going to be. And if there's a big enough spread, that's when I play it. You know what I mean? Like, I use my eyes, my ears, I kind of use everything. But to me, there's some people that just chase the money. Oh my God, the public's all on one team, I'm going to play the other. That's just not what I do. But it's interesting always to hear.
I will have a very small card with like very small plays on it. If it were up to me, like, frankly, and with my money, if you want my advice, like, I'm not going to bet a dime on either one of these games. I do think there's going to be value in the Super Bowl. I think it is pretty clear that the NFC is much better than the AFC.
I didn't look yet. Did you see what the matchups, like what the odds would be depending on who plays who?
I didn't. Last week I was throwing around and I didn't even look at the books. You know how they usually have generic NFC versus generic AFC? I was saying, like, bet generic NFC -3 or even -3.5 right now, because it was a pretty clear discrepancy.
I can't imagine it would be not more than 4 if it's Seattle or the Rams. Obviously, it's going to be one of them too. Like, especially if some way Denver won at home,
it'd be close to. It'd be 5.5, 6. If that were the case, and
I mean, they're at home.
Even with New England, I think it's going to be 4.
That's the game. My play is going to be in that game. I have a pretty big opinion on that game, but the other game, I have no clue. Like, I have no clue, because both of the games were so tight. The first game, if you remember, Seattle was at LA. They had 1 million turnovers. They weren't covering. All of a sudden, they get the backdoor cover.
Should have won. Yep.
They had the ball back and were one completion to be able to kick the game-winning field goal. Like, they needed one completion. Of course, they didn't get it, and they won. Then the opposite,
Yes.
Seattle wins the second game. The Rams outplayed them by
fluke. Yes, exactly. The underdog covered both games, and the team that outplayed the other team lost
both games.
Both games.
By like scratch your head, how in the hell like kind of happened. So I just don't know. And to be honest, Sam Darnold, I can't get last year. I know he played great last game, but it was really more about the 49ers just being ridiculously banged up. And that defense for Seattle is ridiculous. And they were at home. So, okay, toss that game. I still can't get my mind off of that Minnesota playoff game that Darnold did. It's like, dude, is that guy still in there? Is that guy, like, when the chips are down, will he play like that? I'm worried.
Look, but here's all the thing. Like, we have two teams in the conference championship game that shouldn't be there, that weren't the better team last week. The Bears were better than the Rams last week, and the Bills were better than Denver. They just shot themselves in the dick. That was all it was. Like, the Rams, they played a perfect game. No turnovers, no drop passes, no penalties, which is a joke. Like, they had the penalty. They should have had the penalty on the first drive where they hit Caleb Williams in the head. That would have extended that drive. They got no points out of it. The fact that the Rams didn't get called for a penalty, there was an offensive pass, an obvious offensive pass interference when they ran that pick play to set up their last touchdown. So, like, that was kind of a joke. So the Rams played as well as they possibly could. They weren't the better team in that game. Like, the Bears were the opposite. They were dropping passes. Ben Johnson, I talked about it all year.
I didn't think Rams played good the first game against Carolina either. Like, they easily could have lost that game.
They shouldn't still be playing. So I'm always hesitant to bet against those teams. And it's kind of the same thing with Denver. Like, the Bills, like, oh my God, Buffalo. Like, oh my God. You know what I mean? And Denver barely
that much and almost still win. It's like, dude.
Right. But that's unfathomable. Like, they showed the stat during the game. They're like, teams that lose a turnover battle by like 2 or more, something like that, are 1 in 85. And I still thought that Buffalo was going to win the game.
Yeah, when it went to overtime, I said, if it gets to overtime,
those two teams should not be playing in here. So I don't like to bet against, I don't like
the Patriots.
But I'm afraid that one of those teams is going to win.
But like, the Patriots are like, they played great. They did play good. I thought both games they played very, very solid. It's what you expect from Mike Vrabel, and kind of just don't make mistakes and and they're good. I just don't like. I'm just having trouble trying to figure out if they're as good as what their record, because I just don't feel like they are. But they keep beating me.
Yeah. Well, again, we'll save a little bit more of that for
all right. So,
anything in the NHL before we get out of here? You said
I thought the NHL was interesting. I think there's some underdogs tonight. If you haven't been watching, make sure you follow. IC and I do a rundown every day, all the NHL games, and we've hit some crazy underdogs. I think Boston's a really live underdog, and if you follow our Premium Plus, you get a couple plays from our other guys as well, not just me. And there was a lot of guys. So it ended up being one of the Premium Plus today, the Bruins. I think there was 3 cappers that liked them. Different unit levels, nothing like crazy, like 8 units or anything. But I think Vegas is a team that I just can't get right, though. So, like, if I bet for them, bet against them. Like, you know what I mean? I just can't get it right.
That's Detroit for me.
It seems like a good spot. Buffalo, they've been great as an underdog. They're a little small underdog tonight. And then I kind of think Detroit late, like you said, that team, Minnesota just – like, coming into the year, I thought Minnesota's going to be unbelievable. Guess what? Detroit's better than them and a huge underdog. Plus 130 in NHL is a big underdog.
That's the one that I passed today. That's the one I was really debating about. I agree with you. The money line scared me a little bit. I think Minnesota lays them out in this game. But like I said, I have been wrong on Detroit. I'm not joking. I bet you I have been wrong betting on or against Detroit like 11 straight times. Like, I haven't won a bet on, like, I've bet on them, I've bet against them. I always get it wrong. So take that with a grain of salt.
They're 7-1 in their last 8. They've won 3 overtime games in there. Right. It's like they just, like, sometimes.
That's what I mean. That dam is gonna break, and Minnesota is really, really good at home. I think it's
unless Craig plays them as a top play like I did like a month and a half ago, and it was like they got fucking beat like 4-1 at home or something. Yeah. It's like that's the kiss of death. I play about 1 NHL play a week, and when I do, it's a big unit play. And that was the one I'm like, looking back, you win and lose, and you're like, I was just wrong. That was the one I'm like, I don't understand how I was this wrong. Now, if they'd have lost 2-1, I'd have been like, okay. But when you get beat like that, it's like, and it was never close. All right, so that's what we like for today. Don't forget, if you haven't done so, make sure you check us out. And like I said, unfortunately, Robert doesn't have an 8 unit. He wasn't on yesterday, neither was I. But he still has plays every day. So you can get in on his college basketball pass or the NBA. It's just $30 for a day. You can get on mine tonight. So if you want the NBA from me and say college basketball from Robert, you go over there. Use this free $60 by putting this URL in right there. Of course, if you're an existing user, just go to the grid. You can always find out who has the top plays. Make sure you get in on it. I didn't see any like crazy 8 units, but there's a bunch of 7-unit solid plays with me tonight in the NBA I saw, and a couple guys both in prop. I think there was a 6-unit from IC even. So make sure you check that out. We make it very easy for you if you go when you log in. If people don't know where that is, when you log into the members area, as soon as you log in, right at their top, it kind of tells you who has what, and then you can buy right below that. So, all right, guys, have a great day. Robert, thanks again for joining in. We'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget, make sure you set your clocks tomorrow. We're going to be talking everything you need to know about the championship week. I'll reach out to Raphael and kind of get where the money's coming in, at least in the books that he's talking to, just for people that want to know. I know a lot of people put in the comments. So, all right, guys, have a great day. See you again tomorrow.